Have you ever felt like there's something a bit troubling about Mace Windu? There may be a reason for that. Mace Windu is a fairly popular Star Wars character, and broadly speaking, part of his appeal may be because he's less of a clear-cut good guy than certain other Jedi. People like characters with a bit of moral ambiguity, and Windu certainly has that. While the traits that cast him in this light might be what appeal to a lot of people about him, it's also these traits which I think end up making him pivotal in the downfall of democracy in the Star Wars story. He's a key player in giving power to the Empire, and one could even argue he's one of, if not the most prominent cause of that power transfer. Basically, the rise of Darth Vader and the Empire might be all Mace Windu's fault, and we're going to explore why that is now. So let's get into it. As one of the highest ranking members of the Jedi Council, Mace Windu is distinctly preoccupied with maintaining the dominance of the Jedi Order over all else, displaying dogmatic and excessively controlling traits. This is an understandable motivation, since it's kind of his job to maintain the Jedi Order, but it means he's intolerant of any deviation from the Jedi way of doing things, and it makes him an active agent in the stultification of the Jedi Order. His behaviour stops the Jedi from evolving to move with the times and deal with new challenges. This makes the institution weak and vulnerable to the attack, which ultimately brings it down. Mace's desire to defend Jedi dominance pushes him to behave in increasingly morally dubious ways as he's met with escalating challenges which threaten the Jedi's power. When he learns that Chancellor Palpatine is the Sith Lord the Jedi have been looking for, Mace gets a small group of other council members to go and arrest the Chancellor. The optics of this are slightly dubious in their own right, because whether or not this is actually the case, the initiative has the appearance of Mace gathering his boys, his close inner circle, who would keep his secrets and help him do whatever morally questionable act was needed to keep the Jedi on top, without involving wider Jedi input and legal procedure. This group rushes over to the Chancellor as soon as Mace learns he's Sith, without informing anyone else, as far as we know, preventing any kind of more formal legal proceedings ensuing. Some arrest warrant procured or something. Maybe such a thing wouldn't have been typical for the circumstances, or maybe they just don't have those in the Star Wars universe. But despite these suspicious optics, when this group of Jedi Council members reach Palpatine, Mace Windu does tell him he's under arrest. So maybe the whole thing is by the book after all. What ensues after this point is certainly not. When all these other council members get killed in the altercation with Palpatine, Mace defeats him in combat, and, rather than arrest him, as he originally stated he was there to do, he decides to execute the Chancellor on the spot. This is completely corrupt behaviour, subverting all legal process. Anakin arrives and tells Mace not to do it, insists that Palpatine must instead stand trial. Of course, Anakin has self-interested motivations for saying this, but regardless, he is the one following legal protocol in the situation. He's advocating for due process, the ideals and methods of civilized, democratic society. He's the voice of conscience in this moment, a voice which Mace chooses to ignore. All the democratic ideals which the Jedi exist to protect are swept aside by Mace, because they're getting in the way of his desire to murder the Chancellor and maintain Jedi dominance as a result. So, placing himself as judge, jury and executioner, Mace goes through with attempting the execution. But Anakin stops him, assisting Palpatine in his own lethal retaliation against Mace. This is the event which triggers Anakin to switch allegiance from the Jedi to the Sith. And it's an understandable reaction. Mace puts Anakin in the position where he has to take action to protect Palpatine, an unarmed prisoner, from being murdered. If Mace had listened to Anakin and arrested Palpatine so he could stand trial, Anakin would have been given more reason to put trust in the Jedi, because he would have been shown that one of the main leaders of the institution sticks to his word by acting in accordance with what the Jedi preach. Instead, Mace shows Anakin that the Jedi are a hypocritical, power-hungry institution. Mace Windu, who has been cruel to Anakin his whole life, dispenses with all the ideals things his institution exists to advocate for, right in front of him, and tries to murder the one man who may be able to help Anakin save his wife. A wife which Mace would come down hard on him for having if he found out, since Jedi are forbidden from forming such close attachments to others. Mace has always been needlessly hostile towards Anakin, and his behaviour indicates he views Anakin as an outsider. He explicitly says that he doesn't trust Anakin. This may be fair by the time Anakin is an adult, but Mace has been hostile to him since he arrived on Coruscant as a child. Mace's constant antagonism towards him throughout his entire Jedi career makes Anakin feel like the Jedi don't trust him, and so pushes him into the sphere of Palpatine, who has always treated him with more kindness and encouragement. Mace is at the top of the Jedi Council, so acts as one of the main representatives of the Jedi Order. Someone so senior in the Order can obviously influence how many other Jedi perceive Anakin, just because they defer to their senior Jedi Master Windu. Mace is cold, harsh, and devoid of any empathy for Anakin, who has endured a difficult past as a slave, making the hard choice to leave his mother in order to do something theoretically noble and impressive, dedicating his life to becoming a Jedi. His circumstances are worthy of sympathy and encouragement, and yet Mace gives him nothing but the opposite. Think of what that must have been like for a young boy who left his mother, his home, and all he knows behind, to be living under the authority of this man who has such contempt for him. After enduring years of this treatment from Mace ever since childhood, it's really no wonder Anakin would be psychologically primed to be manipulated by someone like Palpatine. Mace essentially sets Anakin up to be groomed by the Sith Lord. He pushes Anakin into Palpatine's open embrace. Of course, Mace Windu is not solely responsible for the downfall of the Jedi. There were many factors and actors contributing to that, and Mace is a symbol for more generalised institutional rot which caused the Jedi to fall. But he is also a pivotal figure in that downfall. While many Jedi were noble, selfless, brave warriors who protected the people of the galaxy, the Order was a dogmatic institution generally, and Mace was seemingly the worst offender there. His actions were so influential that it's possible without him, the Jedi may just about have survived Palpatine's scheming. Who knows? Anyway, what do you think? Is Mace Windu largely responsible for the rise of the Empire, or would it have come to be without his influence? Let me know in the comments below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching, see you next time.